Welcome to the Women Inspire Aspire podcast. In this episode, I talk to Sanjhee Gianchandani about English grammar books. Hi, Sanjhee. Thanks for accepting my invite to appear in the podcast. How are you doing today?
Hello, Venkat. Thanks for inviting me here today.
Great. Wonderful. So, can you go ahead and tell a bit about yourself, your background, where do you live, etc.?
Sure. Right now, I'm in Pune, but I was born and brought up in Delhi. I've been very fortunate because I've studied at some of the country's most prestigious institutions like Delhi Public School, Vasant Kunj, and Lady Shri Ram College for Women. I will start with a childhood story and I'll connect it to my line of work. I'm actually a writer, a curriculum designer, an editor, and a proofreader. I'm also a published author of three grammar series, textbook series. So, my love for books began when my mom enrolled me in the British Council Library, and we would frequent the library to borrow books. There, I was exposed to a lot of critically acclaimed and international children's and young adults literature. So, that kind of sparked interest in reading for pleasure. Then I was a science student, but as I grew older, my love for English deepened and I understood that I want to pursue a career in it. So I went ahead and did my bachelor's and master's in English. After my master's, I was at a juncture where I had to choose between teaching and writing. Since I am an introvert and I prefer, solitary creative spaces, I gravitated towards writing. So, my first stint in my professional journey was with the Qualifications and Assessments International. This is a UK based awarding body which is headquartered in Gurgaon. And there I had the opportunity to create reliable and precise English language assessments for an entire suite of global high stakes examinations, such as the Cambridge English suite of assessments, the YLE, KET, PET, BEC, IELTS, and OET. This role actually gave me a lot of experience in creating ELT assessments. ELT is English Language Teaching Training and working with global assessment parameters. This actually made me realize how important a creation of assessments is in enhancing English language proficiency. But this role was mainly for adults. And at QAI, I also led cohorts of markers and examiners who evaluated the learner responses and also assign them scores. This entire universe was governed by creating as well as evaluating assessments. After a few years of working here, I realized that I should explore other aspects of content creation, textbook writing. So this led me to my next job at Eupheus Learning, that is a publishing house based out of Delhi. Actually, it was at Eupheus where I realized that my true calling is to be a writer and write for the school segment. So at Eupheus, I worked on several English language series. I did ghostwriting, I did editing, proofreading, reviewing, and I also created digital resources, anything and everything related to books. As an editor, especially I would meticulously edit books. I would dissect books. I would haunt my manager and hound her with suggestions and feedback and everything, which was always welcomed and appreciated. After accumulating about 6 years of experience, I was given the first opportunity to write. My first grammar series is called Grammar Sparkle, and it's a project I take immense pride in since it marked a significant milestone in my career and it helped me transition from being an editor to a published author. Then the following year, I had the opportunity to write a supplementary textbook in 2023. This book was aimed at enhancing the listening and speaking skills of students. More recently, I have completed authoring another grammar series for a renowned publisher, and it will be out in the next academic year, AY 25-26. Then I also have had the opportunity to work in edX. So it was interesting because edtech is a unique departure from traditional publishing. At the edtech I actually worked at a macro level. I understood the importance of curriculum design and it taught me why curriculum design is important Since curriculum is the backbone of all ELT materials. So at texts like Lead and Bright Learning, I created structural frameworks. I created LOs, learning outcomes, and I mapped them to the documents provided by CBSE, which are the NEP National Education Policy and the NCF National Curriculum Framework. And I also collaborated with a lot of external stakeholders, subject matter experts, instructional designers, the digital tech teams, and produced either tech books, which are a mix of technology and books. So these are available both in print and digital, as well as fully online digital products like assessments and books. So this was an entire, roundup of my professional journey so far.
Very nice. So, apart from work, what do you do as your hobbies and interests?
So apart from work, I like reading. I am a voracious reader, obviously, because it is very closely linked to my work. I like to read non-fiction. I like poetry. I also write poetry for pleasure, and I have got my poems published in several magazines and blogs and websites. And I also like traveling. Every year, we try to squeeze in some time for travel because it really clears up your mind space and gives you a lot of more creative ideas. I've seen, especially being a writer.
Okay. So, what are some life experiences that you would like to relate to, which are apart from, of course, your writing, editing, and all that? What is beyond work, beyond writing, beyond reading? What is it that you see life as? What are your other experiences in life apart from, of course, your books?
So, other than reading and writing, I really enjoy traveling. And whenever I travel, I make it a point to visit the local places, to know the culture, to know the stories from the locals. If I'm traveling abroad, I make it a point to go to the art galleries, to go to places of interest like museums and libraries, and see the kind of cultural shift from our country. And I like to understand how life works there, how people work, and how people think. Just broaden my overall perspectives. So I really enjoy traveling.
Okay. And from your observation of other cultures, what have you seen as differences between ours and them?
The major difference I've seen is that people there, again, I'm going to connect it to reading because it just comes naturally. I have seen people read. So even adults on a metro, I have seen them with books. I have seen libraries being crowded. I have seen museums being crowded. People really take a lot of pride in their culture, in their history. If you go to the Louvre in Paris, there are long lines and queues. And I have not seen this in India. So in India, people hardly read. The attention spans have gone down. People are only reading online. And it actually doesn't amount to reading in the real sense. I have hardly seen adults pick up novels or take up library memberships. And there is only a very handful of people who are interested in things like history and going to museums, and everybody else finds it very boring. Yeah, so these are some of the differences I saw in the people of our country versus foreign countries.
So, what are some societal issues that you see around you, and how would you want to address them?
I will speak about two issues that are very close to my heart. One is the climate crisis, and the other is the issue of diversity, inclusion, access, and inequality. So, I, as an individual, in my individual capacity, if I'm not able to do any physical work and make any physical change, I try to change mindsets through my writing, through my books, so that I can make at least some change somewhere. So, as far as the climate crisis is concerned, I really believe that it is essential for us to educate young minds and let them know about the urgency of this problem without encumbering them, of course, without burdening them. But we need to tell them the real problem. And the climate crisis is a big problem. So, what I can do in my individual capacity is to include information in the books because these books are being read by students all across the country. So, as a responsible writer, I try to include accurate information, snippets of information, or information bursts about the situation, and help students think about what they can do to make a difference. So, for example, I just might create a passage on, for let's say, the stubble burning in Punjab, and I ask students to fill in a graphic organizer using negative and positive sentences with the steps that they can do and they should do, and the things that we should not do to help the situation. So, this has twofold benefits. They come to know of the problem, they come to know of the crisis, and the second thing is that they also learn the grammar point. So, instead of making random passages on topics that, may or may not be directly linked to their lives, I try to include such topics which are relevant, which are meaningful. I also like, because since these are grammar books, these are English books, and language is always taught in context. So I like to use correct vocabulary, the relevant terms, and to help students discuss the topic effectively. When they go back home, they would have absorbed at least some bit of the content in the book and have the relevant language to talk about these topics at home, in their neighborhoods, or in their communities. And as far as diversity and inclusion is concerned, I think bullying and sidelining is a harsh reality in most Indian schools. And in a diverse context like India, I definitely make sure that I address these issues in my textbooks. So in my books, you will always find images, text representative of people from different states reporting a bullying incident, writing a letter to the principal, and reporting a bullying incident or making a poster on the consequences of such actions. So basically, in my way, I'm trying to make students feel empowered and try to take action in their homes and communities to make them more inclusive and sustainable, and also be confident that these actions will have an impact.
Okay, that's good. So thanks for sharing your thoughts. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
That was a great podcast with Sanjhee Gianchandani. Please subscribe to this channel and follow it for more awesome podcasts. Opinions expressed by the guests in this podcast are their own. The host or the sponsors of the podcast do not condone the opinions expressed by the guests or the actions arising out of those opinions. Any decisions or actions that the listeners might take as a result of listening to this podcast must be based on their own judgment and will be at their own risk. The podcast host or their sponsors will not be held responsible for the consequences of any actions and or decisions taken as a result of any content in this podcast.